movement to get clearer chances, but we had, I think, enough chances to win the game.
Was it frustrating for you?
No, I'm so proud of this team.
Do you think as well, the way you're playing now, that you're going to get more teams come here on nights like tonight and set up in the way that Newcastle did? In a way, it's a compliment to you.
The Newcastle wanted to set up like this. That is not the way they play. They haven't played against any team like this, so it's great to our players.
What do you think of a point overall tonight?
Well, that you cannot win, you don't lose. We get a clean sheet, we had a really good performance, and we go again.
Does it feel like 2 points dropped this?
No, I wanted to win the game, but we draw it, and we should have done certain things better, especially in the final third, and we should have 2 penalties to win the game, and then it was a different story.
Did you have enough on the bench to change the game at all?
Well, we had what we have. Obviously, we had some injuries as well, and attacking areas, we don't have that many options, but it's what it is. I'm so proud of them.
You're proud of them, but the window is open. Do you need more options and quickly?
That's something that we always try to improve our team, and every window is really important because we still have a lot of things to do in this team.
Thanks, Mikel.
Thank you very much.
Well, that is still clearly an emotional Mikel Arteta. He didn't hang back there, righty. 2 scandalous penalties.
Yeah, scandalous. I think there was one where I think that obviously where Arsenal are, how well they're playing, and you're starting to see what it really means. Still think it's pretty early because we're 17 games in. Normally it'd be 21 by now, so we'd be a lot further on in the league. But you could see maybe a while and how important it is to win a game. When you've seen our manager react like he's reacting there, because as much as I was joking earlier on about the Gabriel one, there's one that maybe, he got a pull on, where...
Would you describe them as scandalous penalties, though?
I don't know if I'd say it was scandalous, but I don't, it's not this one. This one's like bodies all together, and, you've got to try and find your space in there, but he seems like he's on the way down in that one. But there's one, there's another one. With this one, look, it'd be a very tough one, because you look at Gabriel, at no stage in that particular incident does he look like he's in a position where he's going to challenge and he's going to try and get something. This one, if this is what he's talking about, I can't see where that's scandalous as well. As much as, I mean,
there's about 7 or 8 players who appeal very.
His arm, he's trying to turn away.
I think he's talking absolute nonsense. I really do. I mean, I would like to say it another way, but I can't. I think it's really dangerous language he's using there, 2 scandalous penalties. And he has to be really careful, because he's got a really young team who have never been in this position before. It's difficult enough, and if your manager can't keep his head, then you have problems. And the referees will be looking at that, and whether you think it's right or wrong, won't like that type of language that he's using. They won't like his attitude on the touchline towards the 4th official and towards the assistants and towards the referee. That, in the future, could work against him if that doesn't change.
Yeah,
is that a concern for you?
Well, it could be. If we're talking about our manager getting himself in a situation where, I don't know, the referees are starting to look at the way he's playing, and you don't get certain things like he might have thought he should have got tonight. You don't want it to start to depend on how your manager's behaving for you to progress.
I also look at his language towards the opposition, as in Newcastle tonight. The way they set up, the way they went to the Emirates, and what does he want Newcastle to do? To go there and play lovely football and try and take Arsenal on at their own game when they've got the record they have? They're sitting at the top of the league. Get used to it. More teams are going to do that. More teams will look at what Newcastle tonight and try and do what they did. You can't always be brilliant in every single game. It's the same thing happened to Newcastle at the weekend with Leeds. You've got to accept, you've got to move on, you take the point. If you can't win the game, you don't get beaten. They haven't been beaten tonight, it's been a decent point, very good point for Newcastle. But Newcastle can't turn up there and say we're going to play open, great football and go head to head. Not many will.
No, I think they should have came in. Something, it's a tight game. You know what I mean? And there's a lot on it. And, Newcastle, the way they played, having a great season. We're having a great season. It was a game that you could see there was a lot on it. It felt like there was a lot on it because Arsenal could have gone even further in front, 10 points clear, and obviously that might have been on their mind. But you look at the way Mikel acts on the line, is how he always acts on the line. You know,
you haven't got a problem with that?
Well, to be honest, it's going to be very difficult for me to say something about my own manager, because sometimes you see and you think to yourself, yeah, maybe he does look like he's managing every aspect of the game, but that's just how he is. It's something that I'm quite used to seeing now. It didn't bother me. It doesn't bother me as much, but hopefully that won't work against him, simply because the team are doing so well this year. They're playing so well. He's doing brilliantly. So you want to make sure that it's only stuff that's happening on the pitch, what goes wrong against us, that he can be worried about, like us not playing well or stuff. But we don't want to start getting into that scandalous penalty decisions and stuff, because I've seen scandalous penalty decisions, and I wouldn't say that those two were any of them. So, you know, I just want to make sure that we're keeping the emotions intact here.
And just on your point with the players, it is the youngest starting 11 on average of any team this season that Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, and they've had an unbelievable. They're at the top of the league. They're there to be shot at. There's going to be a time, I'm sure, in the next few months where it doesn't work for them. Then the test will come. I've been there myself when it's an unusual position. When we were at Blackburn, we'd never been there. Like a lot of these young players have never been there. It might be a good thing, it might not. But it will be difficult at times to handle over the next few months.
And the next two games in itself, North London derby and Manchester United.
Well, those are the games. The thing is, you have to say, and Newcastle today, Newcastle are up there as one of the form teams in the league.
And City home and away still to play.
Absolutely, City home and away to play as well. And what you got to do is you got to make sure that you got to have a calm. You have to be calm about it, because you want to go into these games. The main thing is you want to start like they started in both halves. They went for it. It didn't quite happen. Newcastle defended well, but you don't lose the game. That's the main thing, because then what you got to do is you got to make sure you beat the rest, and that's what it comes down to.
I know that he can't be a soft touch. I know that he's got to protect his football club and look after his team, and I get all that. But I also don't. I think you've got to be respectful to the opposition. No matter win, lose, or draw, you've got to sometimes say, you know what, well done, Newcastle. You actually came with a game plan and it worked to perfection tonight, rather than say we had two scandalous penalties and Newcastle came to play the way they did and they didn't want to win the game. I don't think that's been respectful at all. I think it would have been better for him to say, yeah, well done. You came for a point, you got what you wanted, you defended very well, and we move on, rather than him whinging about refereeing decisions and everything else.
OK, well, Newcastle had lost their last 10 at the Emirates. Eddie Howe, in 6 visits as a manager, hadn't even picked up a single point, but he has tonight, and here are his post-match thoughts.